Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Open and Shut Quality Book Reviews. I'm Ken, and today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the non-fiction book, The Unthinkable by Amanda Ripley. Amanda Ripley writes about human behavior and public policy for Time magazine and The Atlantic. Her 2008 book, The Unthinkable, Who Survives When Disaster Strikes and Why, sets out to answer two questions. What happens to us in the middle of a disaster, and why do some people do so much better than others in the disaster? So to evaluate this, Ripley's narrative focuses on what she calls the survival arc, which is composed of three phases: denial, deliberation, and the decisive moment. To illustrate examples of each of these phases, she talks to people who have survived such infamous events as the Virginia Tech shootings, the World Trade Center bombing in 1993, and of course the World Trade Center airplane strikes on 9/11. Also, Hurricane Katrina, among many other incidents. Now, one of the more fascinating concepts for me as I read this book is how surviving a disaster can lead to inaccurate risk assessment of a similar disaster later on. How people who survived a bad hurricane or two might underestimate the peril of another hurricane years later, based on not taking into account that no two storms are alike and that geography itself changes over time. Ripley found out that the victims of Katrina were not disproportionately poor, they were disproportionately old. 3/4 of the dead were over 60, half were over 75, and some of those people had lived through two powerful hurricanes already, Betsy in 1965 and Camille in 69. So when Katrina came through and was a less powerful storm than Camille, some people made the assessment that there really wasn't any reason to leave. Max Mayfield, the director of the National Hurricane Center, is quoted as saying, "I think Camille killed more people during Katrina than it did in 1969. Other interesting bits of information in the book include such things as that many buildings are hard to evacuate due to being designed on the belief that people move like water instead of like people. Gallantry during a disaster can have disastrous results. You are twice as likely to kill yourself than be killed by someone else in your lifetime. Your sense of dread can greatly influence your ability to accurately assess risk." There are plenty of useful anecdotes throughout this book of how you can improve your own chances of surviving a flood, fire, plane crash, being trampled in a crowd, or even an active shooter incident. If for nothing else, the book is worth reading for the story of Rick Rescorla, who was head of security for Morgan Stanley Dean Witter at their offices in Tower 2 of the World Trade Center. And it was his disaster trainings that helped save the lives of over 2,600 Morgan Stanley employees on 9/11. Out of their 2,680 employees, only 13 died that day. He was indeed a hero in every sense of the word. I give this book 5 out of 5 Badgers. It's very informative without being dry. In fact, if you like podcasts like Serial or Death, Sex, and Money, you will probably like the pacing of this book. And unfortunately, with things like the hurricane in Puerto Rico and the active shooter event in Las Vegas, the information in this book is just as relevant today as it was when it was originally published in 2008, and I highly recommend it to you. So that's it for this episode. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. It does help my channel. If you'd like to see more videos like this one, don't forget to subscribe as well. Also, be sure to check out my other YouTube channel at don'tpunishpain.com, where I make educational videos about what it's like to live with various chronic illnesses. You can also find the links to this book in the description box down below, as well as all of my social media links. So that's it for this time. Until next time, I'm Ken McKim. You take care and happy reading.